and Mike.
Hey, welcome to the Brainstorm with Matt and Mike. We greatly appreciate you joining us on our show. You might be listening to us on the radio, 100.7 The Point, from 9A to 10A on Monday mornings. You might be listening to us on our podcast, which you can find on iHeart, Spotify, Apple. The easiest way probably is on our website at thebrainstormradio.com. Hey, you might also be viewing us on our YouTube channel. I know we get a lot of views. You can see mine and Mike's great hairline of 0. So that's a great spot to find us. Hey, listen, no matter how you're engaging us, we greatly appreciate you joining us and spending some time with us. Mike, today, more than ever, it's all about digital marketing. And you absolutely have to do it, Mike. Unfortunately, though, and fortunately for us, there is a ton of businesses already participating in digital marketing. But Mike, you and I have the secret. I know a lot of people are already doing it, but not as many as should. But we have a secret to tell you about how to start separating you and differentiating you from your competition. Talk to us about content marketing, Mike, and the benefit of and how it works and why everybody should be doing it. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So if you have a marketing message out there, you have some form of content. The reality is content is relatively easy to create, but great content that's where the challenge really lies. And so what happens is people are used to bullhorning their message, putting a message out,
look at me,
buy from me now, look at me, yeah. I'm the best, our customer service is awesome, yep. We're so cool. But they're not necessarily answering the questions to the challenges that their consumer has. They may not be identifying the right audience. They're not crafting their message to speak directly to the pain points of their customer, and they're not showing them a path forward. They're not answering the questions the consumer needs answered to determine, is this something I need? Are these a people I need to buy it from? And how do I move forward?
That's a good point. That's a really good point. It used to be, I know years ago, Mike, in the days of the Yellow Pages, right? And probably a significant period of time after that, it used to be just all about the business. Just, hey, look at me. Here's who I am. Here's my brand. Right. Here's what we do. But today, it's not about the business or the business owners or even Matt and Mike in our business. It's about how we can take care of what our client needs, right? Mm-hmm. And so in a business, you have to fill the hole. You have to fill the gap, find out the pain point, and tell people how you're filling their pain points.
That's right. You got to connect with that audience, right, Matt? And today, what's different about today versus, we'll call it yesterday.
Right, yesterday. It's all about 3 days, in my opinion. It's right. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? And so, that takes care of infinity in the past and infinity in the forward, right?
So in the past, what happened is there was a scarcity of information available.
Right.
And so we had lots of attention on those scarce messages. But now we have the reverse. I mean, we have an abundance of information, almost infinite amount of information available to consumers today, us included. And so what we really have is a poverty of attention.
Right.
And poverty of attention means you have to really stand out. Your message has to speak directly to your ideal audience and do it in a way that's compelling to them and answers the problems, questions that they have.
Right. No, that's a really good point.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. You're right. Not only is there a scarcity, but it's also a scarcity in finding you. I mean, like it's really difficult to find the business that you want to do business with, and it's really difficult for a business to find the consumer you want to consume your services or products or whatever it is. It's just very difficult to break through the noise, I guess, the clutter. Man, you remember back in the direct mail days when direct mail was just hot? It was hitting. Mm-hmm. You'd go out to your mailbox and you would find literally on any given day, especially weekends, it seems like when the majority of the direct mail would hit, you literally could find 15 or 20 pieces of direct mail in there individually. Not the packs. I'm talking individual direct mail.
I remember, Matt, about 15 or 20 years ago, you bought a mailbox that was oversized.
Huge, massive mailbox.
Because if you went out of town for a few days and you came back, literally the mail would be overflowing out of the mailbox.
Right.
And so I think that's because you subscribe to a bunch of back then probably catalogs. Must have been Sears or something.
Sears catalog, man. You can't tell me that when we were kids, that wasn't the most fun thing you could do. Of course, a lot of people are listening going, what are they talking about? A Sears catalog.
Who's Sears?
Right. But I remember.
That was my wish list, man.
I remember at Christmas, man, my grandmother would just literally hand me the Sears catalog and say, hey, pick out the things you want. And, of course, I turned down about 70 pages in that catalog, right? Because it was, like, awesome.
And dreamed of having every bit of it.
But, no, you're all right. I actually bought the mailbox from a print publication, which is like a catalog type of thing. Now I shop there. It was Front Gate, right? Front Gates are awesome.
They have some really cool stuff.
They do. It's way more expensive than I want to buy nowadays. But, yeah, I mean, I bought the mailbox from a printed, mailed out catalog, if you will.
It's crazy.
So you're all right. Yeah, no, it would fill up.
So what we have now, Matt, is direct mail and billboards and yellow page ads, TV, radio, and a few other mediums were just about all we had from a marketer's perspective of ways to put the message in front of the audience back in the day.
Right.
But today, so that same thing about abundance of information, now we have an abundance of channels that we can use to reach the audience, which means
everybody uses different ones.
But last I checked, there's the same number of hours on the clock. And so we didn't just capture more attention. We just divided the places that people invest their time.
That's a good point. So you have the pie, and if you're looking at the pie of
a lot more slices,
opportunity, right? Everything is much more narrow in that pie chart.
That's right. That's right.
There are literally hundreds of different ways people can connect with a business. And if you're looking at the millions of businesses that's trying to attract that same business, because also back years ago in the phone book days, I call it the phone book days, but I'm talking a little bit after that as well. Everybody was really constrained to one geographic area. Right. And so everybody in that one geographic area did business with those businesses in that area. But now today, it doesn't matter where you're located, in your region, in your country, or even across the world. You have the ability to engage with a product or service that you're wanting to engage with and purchase it.
Right.
As long as you can find it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to help people and business executives and business owners. We're going to help them declutter, I guess, a little bit, and from a bunch of noise that doesn't matter, and help you understand how to answer the questions that people are looking for. And Mike, that's called content marketing. And so I'm excited about this show today because we're going to talk about what it is, how it works, why does it work, the types of content marketing, Mike. I know that you built a ton of content for our show today, and I'm really excited about just diving into it. Mike, content marketing has actually been around for a little while, and quite a while actually.
Forever.
And what we're talking about right now is digital content marketing, right?
That's right.
Putting in a digital space and helping fight through the noise, helping you and your business reach that target market. So let's talk a little bit about what it is and kind of some business goals of content marketing, if you will. So what is content marketing in general?
Yeah, so it's just taking quality content, which you have to create, that speaks directly to your ideal audience. And that's where most people miss the mark. They don't identify who their real ideal audience is, who they best serve, and they don't identify with what those people's reasons for engaging a company like theirs, whether it's a service or a product they purchase.
Right.
And so because of that, the message is vanilla, generic, and in a world where we have so many options, it just doesn't appeal to them. And so, we say around here, if you try and appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one.
To nobody. That is, yeah. So you try to make everybody happy, you make nobody happy, right?
That's right.
You're exactly right. I have talked to so many people over the years, and I asked them, like, who do you do business with, right? And I love it because they always start off with, well, anybody or everybody.
Right.
And I don't know of any business that does business with anybody or everybody. So I don't understand why the word anybody or everybody is in anybody's target audience, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, but yet I'll bet you 9 out of 10, at least 8 out of 10, all business executives, salespeople are all about anybody or everybody because they make this assumption that the people they're talking to already understand who their target market is. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It really is ridiculous.
It really is.
So and everybody that's joined us for a show in the past has heard you and I say this literally hundreds of times. You have to identify your target market.
Right.
You have to. And you're exactly right. So just creating and distributing valuable, relevant, consistent content that identifies to that target market.
Right. So, and then you have to reach them in the channels, in the formats that really are best suited for that audience.
Okay.
And so format wise, we'll talk a little bit about that here shortly, but video and white papers, we'll go into a lot more details.
Like which mediums to convey the content at.
And then we'll go into some channels as well, like how to go about communicating that, like where to share those messages. But first, let's talk about what great content might look like.
I like it.
And then what we might actually be aiming to achieve through a content marketing strategy.
Yeah, no, I like it. So give me some of that, Mike. Give me some meat on this bone, if you will, right? Some business goals of like content marketing. Like, what is it?
Yeah. So great content marketing is going to educate and entertain.
Yeah.
If it can do both at the same time, that's ideal. So it grabs their attention, it entertains them, but it also informs, educates them so they can make better decisions.
Okay.
And that's what, as consumers, we want to be able to do today. Because of the abundance of available information, we invest considerably more time doing our own due diligence before making buying decisions. And that's whether it's B2B or B2C, consumer, consumables like a product or a service.
Right.
And so really it's across the map.
So to simplify what you're saying, if you will, if our listeners or viewers, if you've ever bought a house, right, then you've searched those houses, you've searched subdivisions, you've searched schools, you search how the proximity of shopping. That's what that is when you search that, you're educating yourself in that. Same thing. You ever bought a car, right? Same thing. Even probably better example than a house is a car, because now your brand. Do you have a big family? Are you single? Do you like a sports car? And so what happens is they create
what's the towing capacity
if you want recreational vehicles. And so what's happening is you're narrowing down to what it is fits you by way of the car manufacturers and the dealers, by way of their education on what it's good for, right? And so boats, and you can start tying that into services. You can start tying that into all kinds of professional services. Like if you're a business owner from a B2B and you're looking for a marketing company, right? And so obviously you're listening to our podcast, so we're the perfect fit for you, right? Or our radio show, we're the perfect fit. But yeah, not just joking, but that's it. You're researching and you're figuring out that education and figuring out what that education is going to do and what best fits that whole.
So, Matt, some of the business goals that we identify with content marketing for a lot of our clients, here's just a few. So brand awareness or reinforcing the brand.
Okay.
So we know that the greatest businesses long-term build outstanding brands. And part of building an outstanding brand is for it to be branded in their consumer's mind.
Educated on what that brand stands for, the why, right? I mean, that's you're all right. You're exactly right.
And the cool thing is you don't have to brand it to everyone like you would have 15 or 20 years ago when you cast that wide net in traditional advertising. Now you can target your audience in the places that they invest time, the channels that they invest time, and build it primarily just with that audience, which is the only audience that really matters if that's who you're trying to serve. So long as you have appropriately identified who your actual audience is and not that anybody as we talked about earlier.
And that's effectively spending your money correctly.
That's right.
Right? Versus spending money like if we're opening up a pizza company, right, then most people, right, that are, say, 15 and up are our target market, 16 and up. But we wouldn't be putting toddlers on our commercials.
Right.
Right? I mean, so it's just, unless we're having some type of specialty baby food pizza or something like that. But yeah, it's exactly right. Other than that, you're probably going to have a very specific audience, and therefore your money is going to be much better spent.
Right. So then another one would be lead nurturing to get them to subscribe. And so again, because the journey in many ways is longer today than it was in the past, you would think with more information we could make quicker decisions.
Right.
But what we find oftentimes is, because people aren't necessarily going directly to the company to learn from them, like face to face, they don't make as emotional. The decisions are still emotional, but they're not as quick.
That makes sense.
They're not making those split-second decisions,
and
they're doing their due diligence. So the length of the transaction is longer.
And you're giving them an opportunity to feel really good and understand why they're choosing to do business with you.
Right.
I love that.
So you've got to move them into some type of subscribe. And of course, we've talked before, and we'll talk in the future about marketing automation and the importance of having CRM, which is a customer relationship management, like a software program that tracks your consumers and your customers.
Right, in an automated fashion. That's what I love about it. It allows you to work much, much more efficient and much smarter than harder. So if you're still working hard and smart, now you're actually making production happen, right? And so that's a much better way.
Don't trade one for the other. Do both.
Mike, wouldn't you also say that it's perfect for customer cross-sells and upsell opportunities as well?
Absolutely. It does a lot of things, Matt. I mean, it's really important for educating your existing customers, as you just shared, to cross-sell them, to help them understand all of the ways you can add value to them beyond that initial service they may have bought. Of course, getting them to become a customer just because they subscribed and now they're maybe receiving some type of automated communications that further nurture and educate them to get them to make that initial buy. We still got to get them to convert. Right. And so once they've converted, then we need to use great content to just really provide great customer service.
You know what I like about this? One of the things that I really like about content marketing, we did a show a while back on like the 5 phases of an effective marketing strategy, with attraction being one, and then conversion, and then retention, cross-sell, and so on and so forth. If you missed that show, go back to brainstormradio.com, subscribe to our podcast. You'll be able to go back and find that show. But what I really like about this is content marketing actually takes care of multiple phases of that of the effective marketing strategy, right?
That's right.
It can be part of a large part of the attraction phase, right? Significantly increases attraction, and everybody wants more business. Everybody wants more business. Most people ignore their current client base, whereas one of the other phases that content marketing does is it helps retention and loyalty, brand loyalty and retention. And so I really like that from that perspective. Well, I don't know that it does, other things. I know it certainly helps earn referrals.
Yeah, so brand advocacy.
Yeah, brand advocacy.
So once you've closed them on their first transaction, and then you get them to ascend by having further transactions, more frequent transactions, experience all that you have to offer, whether that be a full suite of services or a laundry list of products that you could provide them. Once they've had that experience and you've provided outstanding customer service, both physically, like face-to-face when that's appropriate, or virtually through ongoing communications, email, social media, things of that nature, it really positions those folks to become outstanding advocates for your brand.
So how do you do it? Right, that's where we need to go. Like everybody wants that. That's when you get a proposal and you flip to the bottom page, right? So you want to go to the price. How much is it going to cost, right? But right above how much it's going to cost is how do you do it?
Right.
So let's give some insight on how it actually gets done.
So, Matt, I think we're going to share quite a few forms of content, so types of media that you can use. Before we do that, I'd like to just reinforce that not all of these formats are ideal for your business.
Good point.
So again, we look at who the audience is.
These are different examples of what we would use.
Right. So these are formats that we use,
right?
But not necessarily for every client.
Yeah.
Some clients might actually utilize all of the ones we're going to reference today and then some.
Right.
Based on who their audience is.
That's right.
Or who their audiences are, because oftentimes they'll have 3 or 4 primary audiences. Some businesses have really, really narrow focus,
right,
and some have a much broader segment, so they have to reach them individually. And that's the other thing to remember, that you may be using certain formats to reach and channels to reach certain audiences, while you may need to use other media formats and channels to reach a different audience.
I almost feel like if you would have said all of that in an extremely fast-paced voice, that could have been one of these medical drug disclosures at the end of the commercial. I'd like to make sure everybody understands that you don't have to use all of them, right, in order to make sure. Right. Now, that was a perfect disclosure, because you're exactly right. Not everybody uses all of them, because what we're talking about is giving you examples, and we pick and choose which may be applicable for the business's target market.
That's right.
The business's type target in which you're trying to do business with.
And so one more thing I'll add to that, Matt, because that's a great point. Remember, the content is not for you.
Right.
It's for your audience.
Right.
So unless you are your audience, you are not necessarily
and very
who
rarely
you need
does
to
that happen.
Entertain and educate.
And very rarely. That's actually that makes me smile when you say something like that, because there's been countless people, business owners, that I've had to say, okay, you don't necessarily know exactly what your consumer is wanting to know, because you can't remove what you already know about your own product or service.
Right.
Right. It is amazing how people automatically think that everybody else thinks like them,
or has their specific knowledge.
Right.
And so we find a lot of businesses use, industry jargon. Don't put industry jargon in your content unless your audience truly does have that knowledge.
Right.
And so here's some content formats, Matt. Infographics, great way to visually share. It can be shared digitally. It can also be printable.
Right.
So you could give it out as part of a piece of collateral, or you could have it where it's downloadable, where they could print it off themselves.
It's almost
and
like
share
visual statistics.
Yeah.
At a glance.
You tell the story in a very visual way.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. That actually came about a handful of years ago or so, and it caught fire.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use those, and it's actually trended downward from just a ton of people using them. And so now it actually makes it even more powerful, because the smaller percentage of people that's still using them is much more effective.
Yeah.
I really like them.
Another one's ebooks.
Okay.
So if you have, and it doesn't have to be like a 200-page book.
Right.
Could be, but it could just be a micro book.
Right.
If you will. So it's on a certain topic, but something they can download and read digitally, or print off and highlight, take with them, share.
Right.
Another one's white papers and articles.
Yep. Now,
So
what is
again,
a white paper for our listeners?
Yeah, white paper and article are going to be fairly similar.
Mm-hmm.
The white paper may just appear to be a little bit more formal
And less branded.
Right. That's
So
right.
it's not really pushing your business a ton. It's
Right.
It's not a sales application. It's an application used to educate and sell over, perceptionally, I guess, theoretically, your business.
Yeah, the key there is you're the presenter of the information, whether it's written in video or in voiced directly. The key there is the expert is who people want to usually do business with. So if you are the author of this content, people are going to view you as knowledgeable. And generally speaking, people like to work with those who are pretty knowledgeable.
And that brings up a good point, because we haven't yet said it. We've certainly implied it many times so far in the show, but we haven't said it. The reason why we are suggesting and highly, highly recommending you participate in content marketing is simply positioning. You will be positioned as the expert, as the teacher, and quite frankly, who doesn't want to do business at the end of the day with the expert, right? It doesn't matter if you own a moving company, the person who is going to talk about the way you're supposed to pack the valuables, whether they do it for you or you do it, but just the person presenting the whole process of how you move, giving you a white paper, Mike, is like a checklist of things to get.
That's the next one we were going to reference.
Right?
So a checklist. So you teed that up perfect, Matt. So the checklist, and maybe a timeline that goes with that in your example. So, hey, 3 months out from your move, here's what you should be doing. Right. 60 days before the move. Not just information that may help them pack their truck and unpack the truck, but also just being a helpful guide in how to navigate that whole move.
When do I contact the electric company? When do I, all of that type of stuff.
Don't forget to get your dental records, transitioned over to this new dentist office.
Right.
Sourcing a new pediatrician, where to look. Anything like that would be helpful if you, in that case, were a moving company or anyone kind of touching that vertical. Right. Where someone would be relocating, real estate agent, insurance agent, PNC agent. In
the B2B applications, I know that things like full case studies work very, very well.
Yeah, they do.
Especially in the B2B, right? The business to business, because a lot of times when businesses do business with someone, the ticket price is significantly higher.
Can be.
And so a lot more research and due diligence should be done. And so having full case studies where you take this business and here's what you did and here's the outcome, that's kind of what a case study looks like. I know that works really well. What are some of the other types of forms that we can use?
I mean, blogs, which are great for building inbound opportunities, specifically when they're shared off of your website. You promote it off the website, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Email. We'll talk about a little bit more. Interactive quizzes, Matt.
Oh, I love those.
Anything that you can get people to engage, surveys, anything where you can get the audience to engage also allows you an opportunity to capture maybe their information.
Right. And most likely the majority of our listeners have probably participated in e-quizzes they might not even known about. If you're a Facebook person, you've seen them a lot, right? And so you give them 2 or 3 answers to some questions and they give you like, who would you be in your next life type of thing, right? I mean, what's the best type of dog for you? I mean, all of those are e-quizzes, and they're driving you for something. They're putting you in some type of database or retargeting database or something of that nature. E-quizzes work, surveys work, like you were saying. Those types of things work very well.
Yes, like slide shares. Most people are familiar with PowerPoint.
Right.
Slide shares, kind of a digital version of that, that you can share a little easier across digital channels, social media, embed them on your website, things like that. Webinars, especially in days like today, in the times that we're in, being able to reach your audience, especially if you're in the B2B space, where you need to do some presentations. Now we're having to take those more virtually, which also is an opportunity because now you can reach potentially a wider audience than you would have otherwise. And then, of course, the most powerful format, Matt, is what?
Video. Video today is the most consumable content that exists. I love video. You could be watching us on video right now on our YouTube channel.
Should be.
If you are, thank you very much. And video is just great. One of the reasons why video works so well, Mike, in my opinion, is you almost feel like you get to know the presenters. Sure. You feel like you get to know them personally. You feel like you see their facial reactions. You just get to know them. Like if you watch a certain news channel every single night over a period of time, you almost feel like you know that newscaster, and then all of a sudden you see that newscaster in public, and and you feel like, oh my gosh, I have a relationship with that person. Right. I know video works very, very well, but now how do you share it? Like how do you convey it? What platforms out there? And when we say them, then you'll be like, okay, I understand. So Mike, talk to me about what channels do you actually promote and share this type of content?
So in some cases, almost all cases, you're going to want to post whatever content it is, no matter what format, most likely within your website or websites if you have more than one.
Right.
In some cases.
Some digital footprint.
But that's, of course, we hope you're getting a lot of traction and traffic within your website, but you need to go beyond that, because really people consume a lot of content within the channels that they invest a lot of time in. So some of those are YouTube.
YouTube's very popular.
Tons of videos are shared and watched there every day.
Yep.
It's highly consumable. It's
the second largest search engine. Google owns YouTube.
It sure is.
It's literally the second largest search engine in existence. More things are searched on YouTube. My daughter's learning to cook on YouTube, right? I told her, I forced her to make me a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich the other night. She said, well, I've never made one of those. I was like, well, all right. She said, well, how do you make it? And I said, figure it out, right? I was like, there's bacon, there's eggs, there's cheese, and two pieces of toast, right? So you know what she does? She watches a YouTube video.
Tutorial.
And so,
which is content.
Right. The YouTube
maybe
channel.
Maybe sponsored by some brand of bread.
The YouTube channel actually didn't tell her to put some type of butter or some type of non-stick type thing in the pan, though. So the egg was all chopped up. But so she learned that, though. She watched it. She got 90% of it. Yeah, I mean, you got to put some butter in there, right?
Oh gosh,
butter is better on everything.
This is a healthy sandwich.
Everything's better with butter.
No doubt.
No doubt. So YouTube, Vimeo is another video hosting solution. It's not as public a lot of times as YouTube is.
It doesn't have the search traffic,
right?
But it has its dedicated audience, and it's a great place to store content and share it, and promote it.
What about social media? What about social media?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most powerful places. I can't imagine why anybody would think that.
Not share it on social media. That would be like.
I would imagine that if, for those who are listening, even if they're driving, unfortunately, they've probably sat at a red light and scrolled Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn,
or Twitter,
LinkedIn. Just in this time period since we started
just
talking.
On top of the show, they probably looked at their social media accounts 3 or 4 times, right?
So we just named a few: Instagram, Facebook,
LinkedIn for B2B,
LinkedIn,
great B2B
Twitter
area. How about the very trending TikTok?
It's crazy.
It only takes you about 15 minutes to waste a good hour of time.
Right.
It is like
it'll suck you in, man.
You think you're on for 15 minutes, and you're like, "Holy cow, I've been on it for an hour."
Yeah, but you can really share some. It's beyond just dances, guys.
Right. No, it is much more.
You can share content that you're going to promote elsewhere.
Right.
So you just promote it from that channel. Online forums like Reddit and Medium. Are great places to push the content out, and in some cases it can live in those spaces, and sometimes you share a little bit and then link back to another web property like your website.
Hey, I mean, what we're doing right now on podcast and radio stations, right? I mean, those things are
right. You got to distribute it.
Yeah, you got to distribute the content.
So
that's what we're doing.
Apple and Spotify, and we could go on and on and on.
Right, no doubt.
Radio stations, like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Email marketing,
which personally, the Direct Marketing Association just last year showed email marketing to be a $42 return on every $1 investment. I mean, if I told you that if you give me $1 and give you $42,
it's pretty strong.
You would sit, how many dollars can I give you? Right? I mean, it's ridiculous return on investment.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it's not every time you give someone $1 to send out an email, you're going to make $42. It's because you can consistently convey a message to an unlimited number of people for pennies on the dollar. And so it is absolutely crazy for you not to stay in touch with people you already have a relationship with, because cross-sells, upsells, retention, loyalty, referrals, so on and so forth comes from you communicating and providing content marketing, providing resources to people you already have a relationship with. And one of the best ways of doing that through email marketing. But yet, I will promise you, not 10 or 20% of the listeners are probably even doing it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's because it's challenging. You've got to understand some technology.
Yep.
You've got to build the list.
Right.
And if they are using it, most of the time, they're using it incorrectly.
Absolutely.
And they're either trying to blast the same message out to everybody within their list. Who some have bought from them, some have not.
Right. So there is segmentation.
One audience versus another.
Right. When to send it, what day, what time gets the best engagement. I mean, there's a lot of specifics to it. We can help you with those for sure. But
what's the biggest
would recommend
foul?
Doing it.
Spam. Buying a list of people and trying to email out in hopes that you're going to actually capture their attention.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up because people do ask me. When I talk about email marketing, you can tell I really like it. I like it because you have to communicate with people you have a relationship with. People give you their email address. People do business with you. People comment. People leave reviews on Google and Facebook. People make posts on Facebook on a business. The reason why they're doing it is because they are wanting you to communicate with them, right? And so email marketing does that. But almost every time I talk about it, Mike, that's what you just said.
It's a telemarketer approach.
What comes up. What comes up is, oh, well, this is the business owner. Well, I delete all the emails that I get. Okay, that's what they say. And I say, well, did you ask for them? Like, did you ask for the emails that you're getting? No. Okay, well, then that's spam.
Yeah.
There's a major difference between spam and email marketing. Major difference. Spam is not a $42 return for every $1 investment, right? You still get an ROI even on spam, believe it or not. Crazy to think, but you do. But the $42 to $1 investment is email marketing, not spam.
So to frame up how that should be done for those that are not yet your customers, because you want to move them into your funnel.
Right.
Right. Here's kind of what it looks like if you were to do it face-to-face, in person. You meet them at an event. You meet someone that you identify could potentially be your target audience. And you discuss some piece of information that you have available, a report, a white paper, whatever that tool is. And you say, hey, what's your email address? And I'll send it to you. You're doing the same thing when you're promoting content.
Right,
You're
no
saying,
doubt.
hey, here's a little bit of information. Hey, if you want this resource, just give me your email address.
Right.
And we'll go ahead and send it to you. And then we'll put you in and send you more information over time to help you further educate yourself or entertain yourself about this topic. So Matt, that's just a handful of channels that we know that you can promote it through. Again, they're almost an endless sea of channels. So
how do we measure if it's working? I know that I can name a sum, and I bet you got plenty more conversions. Like you automatically know that it's working if you start seeing conversions. Right. Website traffic, engagement time with the resource, right? Because if it's digital, you can measure that. Some social media engagement, right? You got more fans, you have more likes, you have more followers, more comments, more shares, more, so on and so forth. What are some others, Mike, that help with measurability? Yeah,
email subscriber growth.
Okay, good point.
So if you're doing a great job to promote that content and getting them to that space where they say, yeah, I'd like to get that resource, you should see that growing.
How about search
also
rankings?
Engagement. Search rankings.
Okay.
If your content, especially on your website, if it's getting a lot of attention, it should help that granular content begin to rank more effectively.
I like that. And then overall, that's a significant improvement in your business.
But ultimately, you're going to know if you're getting some traction, you're hearing your brand mentioned more frequently among your target audience.
Right.
And it's really the snowball effect. When you're doing these things well, you may not always measure every outcome, but you can tell that things are on the upswing.
Yeah. I like it, man. I absolutely love content marketing because it really does position you as the expert. Hey, if you want to learn more about content marketing, how it works, why it works, and how we can implement a plan for you, give us a call. Engage us on thebrainstormradio.com. Thanks for listening.